Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and this video where I'm going to look into whether you should wildcard or free hit or not. Let's start with the wildcard section, which I'm going to do a bit differently now than usually when I do these types of videos, because I do have the wildcard chip left myself and I have actually changed potentially my tactics for when to use that chip, that final chip that I have at my disposal. So I'm going to go through my own team and take a look at what I need for my own team, and that might help you as well make a decision for when you need to wildcard yourself. I'm going to look through the fixtures that are coming up pretty soon, why the window of wildcarding in Game 13 might have changed a little bit now since the start of the season, and also why I'm looking to potentially now wildcard in Game 15 myself with the current squad that I have, because I have a pretty solid squad of players that I do really like. As you can see, my rank is doing pretty well, 54k before the West Ham game, where I do have two more assets in Juve and Bowen at home against Brentford. I think that has potential to get even more points and bring me even higher up the ranks. So really happy with the start of the season, and I'm pretty happy with my squad all over as well. So this game week had a lot of good scores from a lot of good players. Dubravka with 9 points in goal. I've started him in 2 game weeks and he's gotten clean sheets in both of them. I'm really happy with that. Burnley at home against weaker oppositions are actually pretty good defensively, even though they aren't the best team in total. So yeah, really happy with Dubravka getting 9 points. Arsenal defense again showing up, 12 points from Gabriel, getting the assist and bonus points there. Timber with 6 points with the clean sheets, fantastic. And Bueno with a massive 9 points against Liverpool away. Did not expect that. He scored straight away in that game and got 2 bonus points in the end. So really happy with him. I did decide to start both my attackers in the Bournemouth and Palace game and bench both my defenders in that same game. And that was the right decision, but I didn't really gain much from it because I got 4 points from Semenyo and 2 points from Sarr. And meanwhile, the defenders were Senesi with 2 points and Richards with 3 points. So I managed to get 1 extra point from starting my attackers rather than my defenders in that game. But considering it was a 3-3 game, I think it was the right decision. That was a game with a lot of goals in them, and sadly I only got 1 assist from those 6 goals in total from 2 really good assets that have been the best asset from or the best offensive player from both of those teams so far this season. So yeah, just didn't work out for me this time around. My one transfer was actually Morgan Rogers to Ismail Assar, and looking at the points, that was like a mistake, quote unquote, because I got less points, of course. I rather would have just kept my one transfer and had 5 more points, of course. But judging off of what happened in those games, Aston Villa got 0.32 XG from that game. Rogers scored a long shot, and Crystal Palace got like 4.44 XG, I think, from that game. And a lot of those chances, Sarr was like right in the middle of things and could have scored, but the ball went to Mateta instead every single time. I think the decision was correct, but the outcome just wasn't really the best. But anyways, I have the authority at least to say that because my rank is good. I don't really have any excuses. I'm really happy with my Game Week 8, regardless of what happened in that game. But yeah, Reinders, not so happy with him. 1 point, got subbed off after 58 minutes. He's someone that I would ideally look to sell, but I don't think it's like a rush either. He is a pretty cheap player. It doesn't really affect my team too much. Holland has been fantastic for me, 26 points this game week as well, 13 points times 2 as my captain. Gyökeres, another disappointing game week, 2 points from him. So I might look to potentially change him up as well. I'll look into that with the future plans of this team pretty soon. And then Bowen and Juve, we don't really know yet how they're going to fare this time around. My bench, no one really stood out there from Sells, Richards, Senesi, and King. All basically blanking in this game week. So yeah, all around, really good game week, 54k before the West Ham players. And now I'm going to look into what I'm going to do with my wildcard going into the future, because originally my plan was to wildcard in Game Week 13. And I'll actually take a look at the fixtures right now, up until Game Week 14, actually, to see why that was the case. Because originally, Game Week 13 looked like a really good time to wildcard and bring in a lot of Liverpool and Manchester City assets. But I think things have changed quite a bit since that time. Mostly for my own team, I have a really solid team until Game Week 14. This is ranked by the easiest fixture from Game Week 9 to Game Week 14. And looking at the top teams here, I have a lot of players from these teams. Crystal Palace, I have already Sarr and Richards, 2 players there. I'm looking to bring in another player in Game Week 10 after I assessed them in Game Week 9 against Arsenal. They're going to have fantastic fixtures from Game Week 10 until Game Week 14. They have the best fixtures, even with that Arsenal fixture, which is really tough. So really looking forward to bringing in another player, or maybe 2 new assets from Palace in Game Week 10. If I change around Richards to Munoz, for example, I can still bring in Mateta and have the 3 best Palace assets from Game Week 10 onwards, which is amazing. Brighton, I don't have any assets from them, but I also don't really trust that many players from them. Maybe I'll get Welbeck in for Game Week 12 for Bowen. That could be a potential move. But apart from that, I don't really trust any Brighton players that much. Maybe Minte, but again, don't think he's like an essential player to bring in either. Arsenal, I have tripled up already with 3 pretty good assets. I would ideally have Saka, which I'll get to eventually. Liverpool is the main team that I don't have any assets from, and that is the team that I would wildcard in Game Week 12 or 13 for to get as well. But currently, I don't really like the Liverpool assets as it stands right now. Isak is just not in form. You can't trust Ekitiki's minutes, or any minutes really for that matter, for anyone except for maybe Gakpo. Gakpo could be the option that I bring in at some point, but I could also just bring him in with just usual transfers. But for now, the next 3 fixtures, Game Week 9, 10, 11, they are good fixtures for Liverpool, but they're not ideal fixtures. Brentford away. Brentford have been pretty good at home this season, so I'm not sure if that is like a slam dunk fixture. Aston Villa are looking better, and then obviously Man City are a really tough team to face, especially at the Etihad. So with Liverpool players, perfectly fine to wait for Game Week 12 and assess after that. I could still wildcard in Game Week 12, which is my new thing now, because Nottingham Forest look a lot worse now than they did at the start of the season, but they might also start to look better by the time Game Week 12 comes around, because they have changed their manager yet again to potentially Sean Dyche. It looks like he's going to be the next manager now. So maybe they will be harder to break down. Maybe that fixture won't be as good as it looks right now. But if they still look awful in Game Week 12 and Liverpool players look amazing in Game Week 12, maybe Isak looks fantastic, maybe Salah looks fantastic, then I could still wildcard in Game Week 12. It's not set in stone for me. But I think that is like the main moment for me to go for new players. Because yes, Man City is like one of the other reasons to wildcard in Game Week 13. But I think Newcastle away, like you'd still want Haaland. He is the one that you're going to have in your squad regardless. And I don't think defenders against Newcastle, when Newcastle are going to try to defend and get a 0-0 result there potentially, I don't think having a City defenders is the worst thing there either. I can just bench their midfielder, whether that's Reinders or someone else. So I don't mind wildcarding in Game Week 12 when it comes to Man City assets either. But another reason why I don't really like wildcarding there is because I would most likely sell a couple Arsenal players, and they have like still decent fixtures. Spurs at home I think is still like an okay fixture. Chelsea away isn't ideal, but it is Arsenal. They are a really good team. They are the best team in the league currently. And then Brentford at home in Game Week 14 as well. Like those fixtures are looking pretty good for Arsenal, especially that Brentford at home fixture. So I don't feel too enthused about wildcarding in Game Week 12 for that reason, because I really like the Arsenal assets. And I also have the Palace assets already. I have the Bournemouth assets already that are really good for Game Week 12 onwards. So I don't really feel the rush to do many transfers in that game week either. So currently I'm looking at potentially wildcarding in Game Week 15, and I'll show you how that looks with my team in the FPL.team web page basically, which you can use as well for future transfers and to look at your team going into the future. So currently, this is how I line up for Game Week 9. A really solid team, I think, overall. I don't think there's too much to change when with this team. I think Reinders is potentially the one I would potentially sell. Could go for Enzo Fernandez here. I have enough money in the bank to do that. I have 7.6 in the bank, so I can afford basically a lot of good players. Even Eze if I want him, but I can't afford him, or I can't get him because I have too many Arsenal players. I could get Gakpo already if I want to. I could do that transfer. Maybe I will do that. Look into that. I could bring in someone else. Could bring in Grealish, could bring in Njai, could bring in also Enzo, who I mentioned, who's like the main target potentially at that position. But I don't really mind saving the transfer either, because I think in Game Week 10 what I would want ideally to do is to bring in Mateta, because he just looks amazing currently, and I think I would actually have to sell Gyökeres to do that, because Bowen still has Newcastle at home and then Burnley at home in Game Week 11, which I would want to keep him for. So I think for now, Gyökeres to Mateta, that opens up an Arsenal spot, which is also really nice, which means that I can bring in Saka. But the only downside is the fact that I can't do Reinders to Saka. That is something that I ideally would want to do. I could always downgrade a defender, but I need 0.9, so I need to sell someone that's worth quite a lot. Maybe I need to sell Senesi. Like they have good fixtures though, Game Week 10, 12, 13, and 14 though, so I don't really want to sell Senesi, but I could potentially do that. 4-4 to bring in enough to go from Reinders to Saka. But I think for now, it would have to be Mbeumo that I would have to sell. Not ideal, of course. Nottingham Forest, they could be a tougher team now with Sean Dyche. That could be a difficult fixture, or a more difficult fixture at Nottingham Forest's home ground. And then they have Spurs, which is not an ideal fixture. Game Week 12, I thought was going to be a worse fixture, but now that Brantwaite is basically injured for longer, that's going to be an easier fixture for Mbeumo, who has Crystal Palace, who have shipped a lot of goals lately. West Ham, who conceded goals left and right, and then Wolves was playing in Game Week 15, but that's when I'm going to wildcard anyway, so I could bring in Mbeumo again if I want to there. But yeah, selling Mbeumo is not ideal, but I do think I would want to get Saka, so I think that is what I would have to do. Saka is just looking amazing, and with Burnley and these are like pretty good fixtures in total, until Game Week 14, After that, it's a bit more of a mixed bag. I think I would want to do that and have the ideal 3 Arsenal assets, Gabriel, Timber, and Saka, and I'd have the 2 of the 3 best Palace assets as well in Sar and Mateta, who I think look amazing. I would want to have both of them. And then Richards finally as the last guy. But there is a player that is even better from Palace in defense than Richards, but I could survive another game week, Brentford at home, with Richards in the squad. But then game week 11 with another free transfer in the bank. I could always do a -4 to do this, but I don't think Richards is... or rather, let's go to the player that I would look to bring in from Palace, Munoz. I don't think Munoz will outscore Richards by 4 points. I don't think it's like on average at least he's going to outscore Richards by 4 points in game week 10. So I wouldn't do the -4 hit to do that transfer early. But I would rather wait for game week 11 to get the ideal 3 Palace players from game week 11 onwards when they have really nice fixtures up until I want to wildcard in game week 15. Munoz, Sar, and Mateta. Brighton at home in that Derby fixture. Wolves away, and that's a pretty good fixture, or really good fixture, a really bad team. Man United at home could still be a good fixture, and then Burnley away in game week 14, also a nice fixture there for Palace before the potential wildcard in game week 15. So really happy with those 3 guys, really happy with the 3 Arsenal guys. I have the 3 main assets from the 2 best teams to target in this fixture area. So I quite like that in general. I still have Joof against Burnley at home. Could start him again. Reinders is not an ideal pick, but I can always just bench him, as I do here. I can even start Cells against Leeds at home, especially if Forest look better under Sean Dyche. And I still have Senesi against Aston Villa away, which is still like a decent fixture, but I would probably bench him with the other good assets that I have in the squad here. So Game Week 11 looks really strong still, which is still going to be the case. Even if I want to wildcard in Game Week 12, I still would want to have like the best possible team in Game Week 11, of course. But still looking forward into the future with this team. Arsenal at home to Spurs, not ideal, but I do think Arsenal will be able to get like a 1-0 or 2-0 win here as well, potentially. And if that's the case, I think these guys are like good. They got a decent chance of clean sheets and attacking threat, and Saka, of course, is the best attacking asset from Arsenal as well in this game. Then the not so ideal part, which is why I might also wildcard in this game week, especially if Liverpool assets look really good, is the fact that I had 2 West Ham players against Bournemouth away. I have really bad goalkeepers, Dubravka against Chelsea at home or Cells against Liverpool away. That's not ideal. Could always bench the West Ham guys, of course. I'm going to bench Joof in this instance. I do have King against Sunderland, which is a potentially good option. If he looks more likely to play more minutes at this point, I could always just do this, Bowen out for King, and start him. But I don't think I would do that in this instance. I think Bowen is still a good pick, and Bournemouth just conceded 3 goals against Palace, so maybe Bowen and West Ham will get something out of that game. So I could still start him, but it's not ideal, of course, with Senesi against Bowen in that same fixture. But all around, I think the team is still looking pretty good in Game Week 12, so I don't think I need to wildcard. Of course, the only reason that I would do that is if, for example, Liverpool look really good, like I mentioned previously. Nottingham Forest at home, West Ham away, Sunderland at home, Leeds away, Brighton at home. Really good fixtures from Liverpool from this point onwards. But currently, as it stands, I think it's just Gakpo that I would want, basically, in my team. And I could do Saka to Gakpo, like to do that transfer. I could potentially, if I do other transfers in previous game weeks, I could bring in Gakpo at this point, or maybe even earlier. But I don't really mind going without him either. I don't think it's essential by any means. So quite like this team. I have 1 free transfer left as well. And the other thing with this tactic of wildcarding in Game Week 15, which I'll get into, is the fact that you get those 5 extra free transfers in Game Week 16. So ideally, you would just want to use your transfers all the way up until Game Week 15 and get topped up to 6 free transfers the game week after you wildcard. I think that's like one of the main reasons why this is so appealing to me. I could get the ideal team in Game Week 15 for the next few game weeks, and then have 5 transfers as well, and just be on top of everything basically, and just be 1 step ahead all the time from everyone else. I'll have the ideal team. I don't need to use any of those transfers in Game Week 5, and I also get to do like fun 1 week punts this way. I can bring in a player on the wildcard that has a really good fixture in Game Week 15 and then has bad fixtures after that, because I have to use a transfer without, or else it will get burned in Game Week 16 when I get those 5 transfers. So I can do a lot of fun stuff if I do that tactic, which is why it's so appealing to me. And also looking at this team now, I think this is a pretty solid team for Game Week 12, so I don't feel the need to wildcard unless those Liverpool assets look really good. Yeah, I could always wait for the next game week. Looking at Game Week 13, which was originally the place that I was looking to wildcard in, Palace against Man United at home, I don't think that's a bad fixture either. Reinders against Leeds, I still have him in the squad now, so I could just start him over in one of the Arsenal defenders if I want to, or Bowen for that matter against Liverpool. That would potentially be the thing that I would do, but Liverpool have looked pretty bad defensively, so I might even start Bowen in this game, because Bowen is still just a really good asset. I know people are saying West Ham only have good fixtures up until game week 11, but Bowen can score against anyone, and he's just a fantastic player all around, so I might start him. But like I said, I do have free transfers available, and I want to use these free transfers before game week 15, because you get topped up to 6 or 5 transfers in game week 16 anyways. So I would want to be on 1 free transfer in game week 15. So I do have some transfers available here. Could always do like a little switcheroo here with Timber. Could also just use money or buy someone interesting rather than Reinders. Haven't really looked too much into who I would buy at this point, because things will change up until game week 13. Could always swap out Reinders if I don't like him, but I do quite like the triple up for Man City against Leeds anyway. So I might just keep Reinders if that's the case. So this team is also looking really good. Still 1 free transfer available in the bank where I can do whatever I want. Maybe I want to change the goalkeeper to have like a good goalkeeper from game week 13 through game week 15 or game week 13 and 14. But ideally, I don't want to really use any goalkeeper transfers, because I think it's a bit of a waste of time, because they can get basically 6 points at most usually. So yeah, I think this team is looking really good as well. I even have Bowen against Liverpool at home. I don't mind starting him either, and I do have an extra transfer in the bank, so I can do a lot of different stuff. And then game week 13, moving on to game week 14. Tim is still looking pretty good. Would ideally want another Arsenal player back here. I could go back again. Could sell Bowen. I could do like 2 transfers and get in Gyökeres here and go for the Arsenal attack against Brentford at home, where I could downgrade someone else this game week. That could be what I would want to do. Maybe I can downgrade the goalkeeper, Sells, and just start Dubravka, or just downgrade. Maybe I have a different 4.0 goalkeeper I can start at this point. Anyways, there's a lot of different options there. Let's just say that I do whatever, Senesi down to like a 4.0 backup defender. Let's find the Rodon. I don't know who even plays this game week. Yeah, doesn't really matter that much. Chelsea, not ideal, but yeah, I'll just start someone else anyway. I'll start Gyökeres, but yeah, I can do a lot of different things there, and then I'll end up with, of course, I didn't have the money available because Rodon is too expensive. Let's go to Goodmanson. This is a bit on the fly, so I'm sorry about that. But here we go. 0.0 in the bank. Use my free transfers. I have 1 free transfer available in game week 15, but this is where I wildcard, basically. So if you scroll down here, you can press the wildcard button. I do unlimited transfers. I pick the ideal team from game week 15 onwards, and then in game week 16, rather than having the 1 free transfer that I had in game week 15, I'll get the 5 free transfers available and the ideal team. This team will look completely different, of course, with a lot of different players that look good from this game onwards, because as you can see, Palace away or at home to City, there's a lot of clashes here. There's a lot of teams that I would ideally want to have different players from. Could still have Arsenal players as well against Wolves in game week 16, and then changed with the 5 free transfers that I have. But that's the good thing that I have with the 5 free transfers. There's so much flexibility. I'm gonna have an ideal squad with not that many like bad picks that I would want to or need to change out. Like most other people that are not using the wildcard in this area, they're gonna have a lot of issues with their team going into this this part of the game, and they will probably use most of their transfers, and they'll be they won't have the same advantage that I have. So there's going to be a lot of good reasons to wildcarding game week 15, in my opinion, and get like the ideal team to have going forward, and have 5 free transfers to do a lot of fun stuff after that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on wildcard. A bit jumbled up, a bit like here and there. I hope you got something out of it. But for my team, I think it makes sense to potentially wait for game week 15. But I could still wildcard in game week 12 if Liverpool especially are looking really good and Forest are looking really bad at that point. But I think there are some fun things to do with the teams, and especially with the AFCON transfers, which I think is actually a pretty fun addition to the game. I know a lot of people hated it, but I think it's going to make for a lot of different tactics and how to use those five free transfers. Some people will use it to get the perfect bench boost, which I think is a bad idea. Other people will use it to just have transfers saved up when you get those double game week fixtures eventually in those game week 20, in that game week 20 to 30-ish area, which I think is the better idea. So I think I'm just going to have like the ideal team, just basically future-proof my team with this tactic and have a really good chance to just have a really good end to the season as well after a really good start to the season for now. So yeah, I think that's my plans for the wildcard. Let me know if there's any questions you have, if you like the idea, if you have any other like good ideas for what I can do to my own team as well with my own transfers. But I think that's it for the wildcard section. So let's move on to the free hit section instead. So yeah, when it comes to the game week 8 free hit, I think free hits are more like something that you can only judge for the game week that you're potentially using it in. Of course, wildcard is more a long-term thing, while free hit is for that one particular game week. So when it comes to the free hit, we're only going to talk about the game week 8 free hit potential here. There are some other good options to use your free hit in. I think game week 11 is when Man City and Liverpool face each other. That could be a game week to use your free hit. Of course, free hit game week 9 is what we're talking about here when it comes to the free hit pros and cons. But yeah, when it comes to the game week 9 free hits, you have some pretty nice teams to target. I don't think there's any like slam dunk fixtures, which is one of the main reasons for that is the fact that Wolves and Burnley face each other. And I think those two teams are actually like the two best teams to face currently at the moment. And they play against each other. So yes, you could go for someone like Stone Larson or someone like Jadon Anthony, depending on who you like in that fixture. But ideally on a free hit, or like ideally when you pick players, you want them to play at home against Wolves or at home against Burnley, but they face each other, so that's not really possible this time around. There are still some really good assets this time around. Chelsea at home to Sunderland. Sunderland are no pushovers, but they also got beaten quite easily by Man United not too long ago away from home. I think Sunderland are worse away than they are at home, and Chelsea are just a really good team and playing at home in this fixture, so I think that is one of the main teams to target this free hit in Game Week 9. Newcastle as well at home to Fulham. Fulham just got Joachim Andersen injured, so they're going to have some struggles defensively. Already have some issues with their striker positions. I think that's also a nice place to go for players from. Voltamata, for example, is looking really good. I don't think he's like the ideal long-term pick potentially, but for this game week 9, he's going to look pretty damn good. Bournemouth at home to Forest. That's also a really good fixture. First match for Sean Dyche, most likely. But that means probably a lot of clean sheet points potentially for Bournemouth. Senesi looks like a lock in this instance, so he looks good. And Man United at home to Brighton, I also think that's pretty good. Man United are looking to be in pretty good form now, and Brighton are a team that concede a lot of goals. So I think Bournemouth for defensive players, Man United for attacking players, seems like a pretty good option for Game Week 9 free hit as well. When it comes to the avoids, I think the Arsenal Palace fixture is really tough to gauge. I think it's going to be, I don't know, it's really going to be tough to know what's going to happen in that game because Palace are really, really good currently. This is going to be a big test for Arsenal, more of a tough test than most people imagine. So that's why I'm like a bit hesitant when it comes to both these players. So if you have a lot of Arsenal players and Palace players like I do, for example, Game Week 9 free hit could be a good idea actually. Also Everton and Spurs, I know a lot of people have assets from these two teams as well. They're facing each other, Spurs away to Everton. Really hard to know what's going to happen in this game as well. I don't really feel too comfortable with either team, like backing either team. So if you have a lot of players from Arsenal, Palace, Everton and Spurs, you could want to free hit in Game Week 9 and target players from Chelsea, Newcastle, Bournemouth and Man United, especially if you don't have a lot of those players. So yeah, I think there are a lot of good home teams to target. That's one of the pros. Chelsea, Newcastle, Bournemouth, and currently Man United, as it stands right now after beating Liverpool at Anfield, are looking like pretty good teams to target, and they're playing at home, which is always the best case when you want to free hit. You want to have as many home games as possible because that's when you know that's the reliable games really. Away from home, I think it's a bit more like random what's going to happen, but at home you can expect Chelsea, Newcastle, Bournemouth and Man United to go for a win and try to score a lot of goals and still be pretty good defensively. So yeah, so I think there's like this game week there's not that many like standout like really good team against really bad team fixtures. There's just mostly bad teams against bad teams, middling teams against middling teams, and good teams against good teams for the most part. So I think there's not that many bad punts. Like there are a lot of different players you can go for. There's a really broad array of players that look really good this game week because there are not that many standout picks, which I have written in the cons. There are no like slam dunk like this guy's going to be amazing, especially also for captaincy. Like Haaland is still going to be the best captain, I think, away to Aston Villa. So that tells you something about the rest of the captaincy options. There's not that many like this guy's going to be amazing type of picks. Maybe Voltamata against Fulham I think is a pretty good option. Semenyo against Forest as well is also a pretty good option, but other than that, I don't think there's that many good like standout slam dunk captaincy differential type of picks. There's also tricky fixtures for both Arsenal and Man City this time around. Man City away to Aston Villa. That's not a good fixture currently, with Aston Villa playing better and better, beating Spurs this past game. And Arsenal at home to Palace, I don't think that's an ideal fixture either. So ideally, you would want to target players from Arsenal and Man City on the free hit because they are the best teams, especially if they have easy matches. But especially now this game week, they have pretty tough fixtures. So I don't think targeting a lot of players from those two teams is the best idea either. So yeah, those are some of the pros and cons, but let's actually look into the draft and see what you could potentially have for a free hit in Game Week 9, because there are some pretty good options in general. So here we go. These are the players that I've selected for this free hit potential. You have Nick Pope in goal against Fulham. I think Fulham have been really bad offensively in general this season, especially without a striker up front. I think that could be a good team to target when it comes to clean sheets. So Pope is in goal. He's been pretty good despite conceding twice against Brighton, but Brighton basically score every single game, so that's not really too big of a detriment to the Newcastle defensive assets potential, I think. In defense, I think Gabriel is still the way to go. I have 2 Arsenal players there because they are still an amazing team and they are playing at home. But I think the Palace fixture is not ideal, which is why I'm not like super happy with the free hit either. But I would also be a bit hesitant of like going away from Arsenal assets in total this time around. But I think doubling up, maybe just singling up on an Arsenal asset could be the best idea. But I do have Gabriel and Saka in this game. And Gabriel, he's just always a threat to get a clean sheet, DEFCON points even, goal or an assist. We see him just getting points from everywhere basically. He is just an amazing player who I wouldn't go without in any draft currently as it stands. Double Chelsea defense, Cucurella and James. Reece James has looked amazing lately. He has played 90 minutes every single game for like the last 4 game weeks, I think, which could be why he might be rested for this game, which is why I'm a bit hesitant when it comes to this. Also, the triple up on Chelsea is Enzo Fernandez, who we still don't know if he's going to be ready or not for Game Week 9. So yeah, I'm not like super enthused about the Chelsea assets either. You could go with Joe Pedro, but he's looking in pretty bad form, and this is why I'm like not too fussed when it comes to Chelsea picks. I don't really know who to pick from those guys, apart from maybe Cucurella, who's been amazing and getting points and being super offensive. His like major haul of like 15, 17 points, 18 points even, is going to come at some point pretty soon, I think. Senesi at home to Nottingham Forest. I think this is a pretty easy choice. Nottingham Forest, even if Sean Dyche gets Forest to play better, I think that's not going to be that much better offensively because Sean Dyche has never been like an offensive juggernaut. So I think Senesi is going to be a fantastic pick. He's always going to get DEFCON points, and he's most likely going to get a clean sheet as well in this game. So I think he's a good pick. Saka has traditionally been really good against Crystal Palace. That's mainly the reason why I have him. And also it's Arsenal at home, so I do expect them to win the game, even though it's going to be one of their tougher tests of the season. In Boemo against Brighton, this could also be Bruno Fernandes if you have extra money in the bank available. But I think Brighton is a team that can concede a goal pretty much every single game. And then Boemo's just scored, has been in great form forever, basically. He's just a really good player. So I think he's a really nice player to have as well this game week. Semenyo against Nottingham Forest at home. He's the foreign player. He always gets point returns somehow, some way. Sometimes he even doesn't even get the point return that he probably should have gotten because he got a touch on the ball, but I digress. But Semenyo is just a fantastic pick, regardless of how good Sean Dyche is going to make Nottingham Forest overnight. Probably not that good because I don't think Sean Dyche was that good at Everton either, even defensively. Semenyo is just going to be an outstanding pick. Enzo, like I mentioned, like not the best in terms of like availability. You don't really know if he's going to play or not, but if you get positive news about him starting, I think he's going to be a really good asset. And if he doesn't start, we still have Krupi Jr. from Bournemouth, who I think will be the starting striker with Evan Nilsson still out potentially for Game Week 9. It's also going to be a good option. Otherwise, Burn as well as another backup option if Krupi Jr. doesn't play either. He's also a good asset. Up front, Holland captain. Don't really have to say too much about that. He's just in fantastic form and he scores in every game. And Voltemada has also scored in every game. Like he scored in 4 straight games now in the Premier League. Plays Fulham at home without Joachim Andersen potentially in that defense. So he is also looking like a really good pick this game week in total. And across the rest of the bench, Dubravka against Wolves. That's still like a really good goalkeeper. If you want to save money, you could just start Dubravka against Wolves. That's what I'm doing with my own team. So I think he's a good asset. And then finally just Josh King for Fulham, just because he is a pretty cheap alternative there. So yeah, that's the main squad that I have currently. You have some alternatives. Like I mentioned, if you want to target either Wolves or Burnley, you could go for the best player from each team, the best attacking player at least. Strand Larsen still waiting for his first goal this season, playing against Burnley at home. This could be when he gets the goal. He could be a good alternative up front if you want to bring him in instead. Jadon Anthony, if you want to go for a Burnley player, he's been the most lethal player from Burnley, so he is a good asset from them away to Wolves. And then in defense, you could still do the double up of Arsenal and have Timber and Gabriel. So I think he's still a good option, but I just feel like against Palace, who have been so good offensively lately, even one Arsenal player seems a bit much maybe. But Timber is still a really good asset, and I feel a bit bad leaving him out because he's just, again, another player who could get a goal or a clean sheet or any type of point really in any game week. So yeah, I think this is my favorite draft for Game Week 8 for now, but I'm also going to update this draft before the deadline. The pre-draft for Game Week 9, I'm sorry. I'm going to update that in the team selection video that I'll have on Friday for Game Week 9 as well. I'm going to look through again my score from Game Week 8 and the free hit draft that I did in Game Week 8 as well. Also going to have another free hit draft for Game Week 9, like the updated one, and also my team selection for Game Week 9, where I'm most likely going to do no transfers, but I could potentially do Enzo in if he looks good and set to start in that game. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Almost half an hour long. I hope it was of interest to you. I hope you got some nice information here. Also just to get my thought process with my own team, that is sometimes good, even though it is very much it is very much team dependent whether you should wildcard or not. Maybe someone would want to wildcard now, maybe someone would want to wildcard in Game Week 12, or maybe someone would want to do like me and hopefully save it for Game Week 15 and have a really nice advantage for the rest of the season. But that's pretty much all from this video. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.